Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we have another experiment and somewhat of a build experiment for you guys, and that is making a walker. Alright, so what I mean by walker, I mean like a mech walker, as something like this. I'll show you guys a little bit. But initially this was actually an experiment, as we've done rotor wheels, clang drive, and other random wheel experiments. Why not do something that's a little different and not use rotors or wheels or thrusters in any way or fashion? So I decided to play around with hinges and pistons as a way of moving forward or backwards, wherever the case may be. So what I did initially in my experiment was to play around with some hinges to make little kind of like paddle walking kind of situation here. So I threw on some hinges on where the wheels would normally be for a rover like this, which would have been like one here and one back there. And then I played around with how the hinge kind of works. So for an example, if I grab this guy here, so this one right now is on a bit of a tilt because I have it set up in a special way. So under my toolbars, I have a control for each and every hinge here. So for an example, I can make it all kind of sit down straight like this and kind of build it so I can move it. So while I played around with each individual ones like so, just to kind of get some movement out of it, you gotta find the right combination of movement. So that was a little bit hard to do and difficult to kind of figure out. But let's just say, for an example, if we did all four at once, we get a little bit of a hopping motion, depending on how fast you put the velocity of the motion of the hinges. So if we did a lot higher, we would probably get a lot more height or even forward momentum. So our hinges here, we're currently at 40 RPMs, but if we did like 60, we could definitely go a lot faster and pop up in that sense. But in this case, we can technically kind of go 2 meters per second in a way. Not really. So it's a little bit ridiculous, to be honest. To really figure out the best way to move with this, I try to do like an individual paddle kind of situation. So in terms of that, what I did was basically take one front hinge and a back hinge on the opposite side, so it's crossing each other, and then kind of get some forward momentum by making it walk left, right. So for an example, one going down, one's down, one's up, and then we're gonna just pretty much alternate from here. And we get a bit of a paddle motion where it's moving. And of course, we have timer blocks in this, so we did set that up to put it on the timer. So if I hit the timer block here, it's gonna start it up, and it's gonna kind of paddle on its own. But it's very slow compared to what I was doing by myself. And of course, you have a bit of a wobble motion here, which is not ideal. So changing the camera a bit, you'll see that it's, you know, slowly moving forward and wobbling. It's a little, I guess, cute kind of little thing here. It doesn't pick up a lot of speed, but it does kind of move forward. Not very fast, but it is moving. So that thing is moving, and well, it slows down, but the max speed looks like about 1.5 meters per second. And it might be a little bit faster to move if we kept on hopping it the way we had it previously. So we can do that by reversing everything. And you'll see that it is hopping, but every few seconds based on the timing blocks, 1 second minimum duration. Otherwise, we can do a trigger now situation, but it's gonna just flicker around. Nothing's gonna really happen. So this is kind of a way to use just hinges on its own to get some motion. I mean, we can put on multiple hinges to get better motion forward, but this was just a preliminary test to see if you can get any motion out of it. So we'll leave that as is and grab a new one. So the next thing I did was actually build pistons to make momentum going forward. So we grabbed this guy here and plopped it down somewhere. What I was trying to do here, it's kind of similar to the hinges, except this time we have forward momentum using the pistons going forward by reversing them or extending them and then retracting them. So that's how we get our momentum. So we have each individual piston on here in the toolbar. So that's forward, that way, and we can just bring it back down and reverse it. So I was hoping to do something like this, where we reverse it and then bring that one back to get the forward momentum. So it's like kind of moving forward, but we do experience clang a bit, which is the odd part of it. But yeah, so that always happens. Well, not always, but it happens for a good portion of the time when we have that kind of set up that way, or when we have the pistons all extended forward. So that is an interesting way of trying to get the forward momentum. So another thing I did here, of course, is put on timing blocks. So if I put on my timing blocks to do this whole setup, we get forward momentum, backwards, and retracts at the same time. So we actually get not both extending fully and cause that clang. So now we're moving slowly. It's a very, very like inchworm style, as you can say. And we can go forward with the piston, it retracts, the back ones pull out and pushes us even further. So it looks like the max speed on this is 2 meters per second. It's a slow moving vehicle, but it does work. So it's a weird but interesting way of getting some forward momentum using pistons. So this was a decent way of doing it, but why not make it even better? And of course that is by using some landing gears. So let's copy this guy and place it right over here as an example. Boom. All right. So this guy is the same exact build in the front, except it doesn't have the back pistons, because the idea here is to go forward, lock on the ground, pull it back, unlock, go forward, pull it back. So here's the example. Once I turn it on, so it goes forward, locks, pulls it in, forwards, locks, and it pulls it in. So that is kind of the action here. Again, inchworm style, but this time it's locked to the ground, and it's about the same speed as the other one that's inchworming. The only difference is that we are never locked in the ground on the other one next to us. The landing gear one, you get locked in, so the problem is going to persist in terms of turning. So we can get stuck turning once the landing gear gets locked in. The other one looks to be kind of moving up the same speed as the landing gear one, so that kind of works out just the same. I think the only problem is that you do run into a bit of going backwards when you're using this one. And of course, as you saw here, we just caused some clang eventually by climbing with this inchworm technique, which is interesting but not the best way to move forward, but it kind of does work with pistons. So with the pistons, it seems to cause a lot of different clangs. So as you saw, both of these systems kind of clanged out, and you should really check out, or actually show you guys, the initial one that I created, which was this one, which was a very bad idea because I forgot how much it's going to extend forward and it's going to collide into this piston. And when it collides to the piston, kind of everything just goes crazy, as I'm going to show you here. So if I turn on the pistons, it looks like I didn't even set it up the way it should have. So if I turn everything on here, you see that it is gone crazy. See, the way it extended onto it, it just kind of connected directly. It kind of connected directly into it, or pushing directly into it, so it's just clanging out and going a bit nutty here, which is not a good thing. So that was the initial experiment that went bad or wrong. So the other two made more sense in terms of an inchworm technique. This one seems to be working fine without any clang. You do slide backwards a little bit, but hey, it's a way to move forward. That's not involving thrusters, wheels, clang drive, or any other thing other than that. But they're slow little techniques in terms of moving these things. So further on from there, I said, why not combine the two items, which is a hinge, piston, and maybe another hinge. My initial one was just a hinge and a piston, and that didn't go anywhere. It just moved a little bit, didn't really go anywhere. So I did play around with it. I don't even know where it went, to be honest, but it's probably gone somewhere. It probably clanged out. This one got stuck here, but yeah, the ultimate way to kind of get this walker to kind of move was having 4 of them with 2 hinges and a piston together. So you have the forward momentum joint, and then you have the extension joint, and then you have kind of like the ankle joint kind of situation. I never really made a mech or a walker before, so I was just playing around with it. I was always interested in making one, but I never found a way to get all the timing correctly. So I really have to plan it out to get it working right. The walker that I have here, actually, I did it by mistake, and it works out pretty well. And when I say by mistake, let me just turn on the timers. This is what is happening. So as you see here, the walker works, but it's going backwards. And the way I kind of discovered how to get this momentum going backwards was kind of just messing around with each and every hinge and piston system on here individually, or even as a group, to get it started. So it was a bit of a pain to work out. So I did initially group them in diagonal direction. So this one group with this one, and this one group with that one, kind of in that sense, to get that motion. But it somehow just went backwards, and I could kind of see why, but I just left it as that. So the idea here for this one is the walker, and eventually I'm probably going to go into building a mech, if anything, and kind of walk you through on how to make it really move better. But yeah, this is my first time making such a walker, and it kind of worked out. But again, it was just all kind of an accident, just having it move, to be honest. So let me just turn this on and show you guys what this is all about. So it has the 3 joints, as you see here: the swaying joint, the up and down piece, and then you have kind of the lower angle piece here, ankle piece I should say. So the way it's moving is actually kind of just pushing and kind of getting that momentum with the ankle piece or the foot piece. That's kind of pushing it forward that way. And it's kind of freaking out. It's going a little faster here and there, but yeah. So as you see, it's on a cross section. The one on here and the one back here is moving at the same time, and then the opposite, the same thing, right? So the way this works is basically everything is kind of linked together in a way, and it moves together at the same time, which probably is better to make every individual piece move a little bit different, but this was just a quick and easy way of doing it. So basically, I have this guy sway and extend, and the foot down, while the other one is actually retracting with the foot up. So having it diagonally do that, it kind of moves forward in that momentum. So it's really hard to explain. If I map it out eventually for you guys, maybe it makes more sense. But some of you probably already know how to make something like this. This, again, my first time ever trying this out, and it seems to be working a-okay. So just to kind of go through it, what I've done here in terms of, you know, the velocity, I just put 20 RPMs for the hinge on the bottom, so the feet. And then the piston going up and down, I have it as 1 meters per second to kind of go up and down with the max distance of 0.5. Let me see here. There was a lower and upper limit, so I put the lower limit as 25 so it doesn't go too far down with the hinges. And then the other hinge set is the one swaying left and right. That one has lower limits and upper limits as well, and the velocity of 20. So this was a very, very like intermediate or beginner level kind of walker system that I guess you can call it, because everything is simple as possible, nothing too complicated in this case here. So if you're looking at it and you're not too sure how it's really working, basically it's just 2 sets are moving together, and it's always equalizing on the turn piece. So basically when the piston's retracting, the toe is tipping, or tippy-toeing basically. And then the opposite's happening is basically the piston is extending, but the toe is flat, or the foot is flat. So that's how you get the equalizer. So that's how it kind of gets the motion. So other than that, it would be kind of like standing still and kind of moving like this guy here. The timing wasn't right here, So things were moving together and it just doesn't do anything. It just gets stuck and just constantly moves there. So it was all about timing, which I haven't really mapped out correctly. And again, this was kind of by mistake, but it does work. So of course I took it another level, and not really that complicated, another level. And that was just to reverse the seating position. So I created this guy here. So I reversed the seating position of this walker. It's the same walker, just put the seat on the other side, put a spoiler on it, put it on the gyroscope, put a little face here, and now we have a decent little PPG walker as a test run. You just turn it on, everything's set as simple as possible, and it's just a cross beam. But yeah, if you really look close to it, if you don't know how to make a mech or walker, this is the most, I guess, the basics of the basics kind of way of doing it. Probably not the best way to do it, but this is just an experiment I was just trying out, and it kind of worked out in some ways, in some fashion. Not very fast, by the way. It's a lot less than an inchworm technique, it looks like. We can reach the max speed about probably 1 meter per second, which is not much at all. And yeah, it's as long as you can get a slight little equalizer here where you're not tilting too much on one side, you are good to go. I wish I could kind of map it for you guys to kind of show you each individual piece that's moving. But I mean, all you really need to do is having one side is moving opposite from each other, as you see here. So on the left hand side, it extends and the feet's flat, and the opposite side, it's retracted and the toes up, so it's equal in height. That's how we're getting that forward momentum. I'm gonna test it out and do other things with this. I do want to build a mech somehow and pretty much do it all in vanilla, which is probably the hardest thing to do, or maybe easy depending on the situation. And I think this was really fun to make, especially trying to make rovers without wheels or thrusters to get some forward momentum. So hope you guys did enjoy this video of me just playing around with some walkers or inchworm techniques and just making rovers with pistons and hinges just to move it forward. Alright, so if you made it this far into the video, enjoyed this experiment and this walker creation, please hit that thumbs up, like the video. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be alerted of upcoming videos. I really do enjoy reading your comments, so please drop one down below. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.